My name is Alicia Shapiro with AInews.com, and welcome to another episode of our Driving Tomorrow Conversations with Industry Leaders, where we explore the latest developments and newest innovations in the world of artificial intelligence. Today, I am thrilled to be speaking with Steve Endacott, the founder of Life's Echo, an innovative new company transforming the way we preserve and share our life stories. Now, Steve is no stranger to pushing the boundaries of technology. We've interviewed him before, and he's the creator of AI Steve, the UK's first AI candidate for Parliament. With Life's Echo, Steve and his team are taking a deeply personal approach to AI, empowering individuals to create AI-driven autobiographies that allow loved ones and future generations to connect with their stories long after they've passed. In today's interview, we'll be exploring how Life's Echo uses advanced AI technology to document lives, tackle the challenges of preserving family legacies, and navigate important questions around ethics and privacy. Steve will also share his insights into the features that make Life's Echoes truly unique, including its potential to be the ultimate genealogy tool. I'm excited to discuss this fascinating concept and learn more about the future of preserving memories through AI. So thank you for joining us today, Steve.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you back. So as I said, Life Echo allows individuals to create AI version of themselves to preserve their legacy. What inspired you to develop this innovative tool, and how do you see it shaping the way we think about memory and genealogy?
Okay, so the idea is an extension of AI Steve the politician. So
Okay.
AI Steve the politician, we created a database of my political views and policies
Hmm.
to allow voters to talk to me for 24/7. And if we didn't have a policy, it'd research the topic, engage in conversation. We'd then research that each night to come up with more and more policies. And in the election period, we had 20,000 people interact with that and
Wow.
really positive response about the fact you could talk to it. And I was out for dinner with my wife in a restaurant, not the pub this time. And she said, you are a bit of an egotistical what's it. Why don't you record your whole life using the same technology? And I went, yeah, that's quite a good idea. I think people could quite like that.
Hmm.
And what really resonated with me is the ease of creating an autobiography, because if you're rich or you're famous, you might have the money to employ somebody to go and write it all down for you. But most of us are lazy.
Hmm.
And I don't want to write a book about myself. Whereas talking to an AI character over 5 segments of 45 minutes and documenting the fundamentals about my life, and it's called an echo. It's not a complete documentary of your life. You're not being downloaded. You're not immortal when you're dead. But it is a way of creating an autobiography. And that written autobiography that's recorded by these language chats, yeah, powers a large language model, uses your voice if you want it to, or an actor's voice, or it can talk in third party tense, and it can talk to future generations about your life and about what you did and why you did it.
I love that idea. Especially, I don't have kids. And so I'm hoping my niece and nephews remember me after I'm gone. This would be perfect for that. I love that. It's a great
Well,
idea.
I have to give you the harsh facts.
Hmm.
And again, this will resonate with listeners. So you'll know about your parents' lives, probably most of it, not
Hmm.
everything. You may know something about your grandparents, but not as much. I guarantee you'll know nothing whatsoever about your grandparents.
It's true.
You might find out their name or their job on genealogy, etc., but there's no record. So we are wiped from the face of the earth after 3 generations.
Yeah.
I personally don't like that. I
Yeah.
want to leave a record and I want to talk to my great grandchildren about what I did and why I did it. And yeah, what was that madman standing the first AI politician? Why did I do it?
Hmm.
And I get to explain that in my life echo.
I love that. It's a way of preserving a family's history in the long term. I just think that is so fascinating and a great idea. How long do these recordings stay around?
As I said, let's go through recording. So first of all, we designed it so you don't have to know anything about AI.
Okay.
So let's face it, most people likely to die in the next 10 years are probably in their 70s and 80s and aren't used to technology. You get
Hmm.
your finger, you press one button, and it starts AI Sarah, and she talks to you.
Hmm.
And over 45 minutes, she can interview you about different segments of your life. So these life stories will be around for over 100 years because digitally storing data is incredibly cheap.
Hmm.
So we're going through at the moment what we call death time guarantee. So you've heard of lifetime guarantee, things that last entirely. This is a bit more complicated, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
you've got to think about what happens after somebody's dead. And we've got lots of things we can talk about there. But basically, we're guaranteeing that it will be kept for 100 years if you wish. You can take it back at any time. Yeah. And we're building a trust fund to make sure the money's protected in case anything happens to business so that it can just pay for this technology to run whether we're here or not.
I love that.
Time guarantee.
I love that. That's great. And just the idea of chatting with future generations with my AI version is just really cool. Can you share a little more about how the AI interview process works and how it creates such a detailed and authentic AI echo of someone?
Yeah, so the technology is again coming from one of my investments, Neural Voice. And to remind you, they built a platform where you talk, it's translated into words, it's injected into a large language model, responds, and you have a conversation with it. So literally, we've generated 1,000 questions, but the AI character doesn't go through it rote. Yeah, they will literally have a conversation with you, and based on what you said last, will then extend it to the next part of the data gathering they've been told they've got to do. And if you want to put things in there that have not been asked, you can. So that would create a segment. Yeah, for example, the first one is early life.
Hmm.
You then get a written autobiography that you read, and then you could edit because maybe it didn't capture your exact date of birth. Maybe something you've forgotten something. So you literally type away, add a little bit more. Once we've got all 5 segments, we combine that into an autobiography, which you have access to again, and final sign off. And then we use that to create a large language model that says, this is my database of information. So when somebody asks me a question, it can only go to that database. It can't go to the internet and make rubbish up.
Hmm.
If you know the answer, it has to tell him, I don't know the answer to that. Yeah. And basically, it's a way of making it really easy for somebody to interface with you because we're also capturing all your pictures. So
Yeah.
when you're talking to the AI in the future, you're looking at pictures and you can say, what did you do on that day? Or where were you that year? And that's the general idea to make it a rich tapestry and an echo of your life to repeat. You're dead, you're dead. Yeah, you're not being downloaded. This is not immortalizing you. This
Yeah.
is a life echo for future generations interact with to understand better why and what you did in your life.
I love that. And what makes AI Sarah's conversational style so effective for extracting the stories? And how does she ensure that the process stays personal and comfortable?
I think the best way of that should we do a demo.
Oh, yeah,
Because
let's do it.
hey, come on, let's not ask me, let's ask AI. Basically, you go and say, speak to Echo, speaking to me, sorry, I'm wrong button. Record an Echo, we'll take you to AI Sarah, and I'll give you a quick demonstration.
Okay.
She takes a couple of seconds to start up, as you all do in AI models, and then
Mhm.
she'll start chatting to you.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm going to chat to you today about your early life experiences. Let's start from the very beginning. Could you tell me where and when you were born?
I was born on the 22nd of February 1965 in a little place called Minster on the Isle of Sheppey in Kent, England, United Kingdom.
That sounds like a quaint place to be born. Do you know if it was at a hospital or was it a home birth? And are there any family stories surrounding your birth that have been passed down?
Sarah, Minster in Kent is not a quaint place. It is a bit of a rough dog's body of a place. I was a little bored of energy. I didn't sleep much, kept my parents awake at night. I was planned, unlike my surprise brother, who popped out just after their wedding. Yeah, I was the second brother and second child, so probably took up a lot of their time.
It sounds like you brought a lot of energy into your family. How did your parents adjust to having a lively little one like you? And do you know any specific reasons why they chose your name?
Oh, yes, this is a goodie. My dad went out, got slightly drunk, went to the registry office, got ST out because I meant to be called Stuart. Couldn't remember how to spell Stuart, so put down Stephen, Steven, instead, and massively upset my mother and also my grandfather, as you can guess what he was called.
What a vivid story. It must have made for some.
Hopefully, I'll stop sharing so we can get back to the interview, but hopefully that gives you
That's
just
so
a
cool.
broad idea of we've chosen quite a soft voice, quite a middle-aged voice, quite a natural conversation. You'll be on your couch chatting away.
I love that. And she asked a question I wasn't even thinking about, like, how did your parents come up with your name? That was really cool.
And again, that's just researching using AI about what questions people likely to ask.
I love that.
So an interesting fact about that we're adding to the technology just after launch, people don't know what to ask. So
Yes.
quite often we're prompting them with the next 10 questions they might want to ask. So they can just read from that 10 list, or they can just poke a button and ask that question. That's a complete thing we found after deploying the beta and My Life Echo, because people go, I don't know what to ask you. So it just prompts you some potential questions, but you can ask anything you like. Some of them I'd rather they didn't ask.
Yeah, I bet. Then it's a good representation of who you are. For families using Life's Echo as a genealogy tool, what do you think will be the most impactful benefit of being able to talk with an AI generated representation of a loved one?
Just the richness of information. So it's amazing. You were talking for nearly 4, 5 hours.
Mm,
Imagine you had a conversation with a relative, and compared to that to a genealogy tool where you can just look up their name and the job.
yeah,
It's massively rich. It's in their voice. It's their life memories. It's their life stories, and it's an echo of what they did.
I love that. I would love to do that with my great grandparents, like you said, because I don't know anything about them.
Well,
That's,
sign them up.
yeah,
So it's an interesting point. So one of the things that we've been asked lots of time, well, who's going to buy this? What age are you going to be when you're buying this?
Mm,
And we think there's probably two different paradigms going on here. We're targeting it as a giftable product,
mm,
so that basically you can give it for a significant birthday, 70th and 80th, or Christmas, or Easter, or Thanksgiving, and you can just go, right, okay, 499. Yeah, it's not cheap, but it's not massively expensive.
mhm.
So between two couples or a couple of families, you can gift it to your grandparents to do. But it's also something we think that when people start thinking about death, so we're looking at when you take out your will, when do you write your first will, when you're obviously going to an undertaker to plan a funeral quite close. So there's different triggers and different points that we will work on a B2B basis with businesses. So, for example, there's a car company called Moonpig in the UK
Hmm.
that we're targeting because most people buy their cars online from Moonpig. And when
Mm,
they do, they tell them how old they're going to be. So again, there's lots of rich data out there, lots of rich ways of getting to consumers. Unfortunately, there's also illness.
mhm.
So obviously, dementia. My mother died of dementia. Unfortunately, before I built this technology, I'd love to have given it as a present to my mum when she first got dementia to say, "Hey, mum, yeah, it recalls your life, so you may even want to talk to it to
Yeah,
remind yourself what you did." As
that's
people with muscular dystrophy, etc., that lose the ability to type or talk, and again, yeah, it's their
That's
legacy.
fabulous idea. Yeah. And Life Echo also offers the optional features of being able to give your own eulogy in your own voice and maybe a celebrant script for funerals.
Oh,
What?
this is a lot more controversial.
Yeah. I was just going to say, what feedback have you received about those unique features and how did they contribute to celebrating a person's legacy?
Okay, so the basic genealogical tool element of Life's Echo, I think we get broad support.
Mhm.
The tools which are aiming to give people at funerals are absolute marmite,
Mm.
which is basically a term in the UK means you hate it or you love it.
Okay.
So the reason we're doing this is, again, we created an ethics committee because I'm a technologist, I'm a marketeer.
Mhm.
I don't know enough about death, and it worries me that I could do wrong.
Mhm.
So I created an ethics committee of experts. For example, Janet, who runs it, our chair lady, is a published author on the grieving process and palliative care and what happens in that area. We've got a specialist palliative care doctor who's been doing that for 15 years. We've got funeral directors. So we try to create a broad range of people who actually know what goes on in this area and what's a good idea and what's a bad idea.
Mhm.
So they flagged with me that in the UK, shockingly, basically what they call direct cremations, where your body isn't in front of somebody at a cremation hall when you'll get burnt,
Mm.
is gone from 3% to 28%. So 28% of the time your body's just sent off from the hospital, cremated, and somebody gets some ashes.
Mhm.
And then there's no closure event. And they were flagging to me that they think that the biggest problem with that, you understand it's a lot cheaper. Yeah, it's about £1,500 compared to about $6,000 to do an average funeral. And they're saying, but you've got to think about the people left behind in that closure event.
Yeah.
So they like Life Echo because you can have a closure event where you can actually host your own funeral
Mhm.
and you can give a speech and say what you want to say to the people left behind, and they can chat to you about your life. And they think that's a good way of creating a closure event, a good way of celebrating a life, and it's quite cost effective. It's very cheap, really.
Yeah.
And so therefore that's where that part of the idea came from. But as I said, it's a bit Marmite. And again, I know from, okay, so when I was a politician, AI Steve, I had death threats and I didn't take them seriously.
Wow.
And somebody said that, yeah, they'll kill me or kill AI Steve. And I flippantly went back and said, see if you can find the switch. Don't do it. Never go back to mad people because they're mad for a reason.
Yeah.
And then he then threatened to put an axe in my head and come around my house, and he knew my address. Because as a politician, you have to state your address.
Wow.
Anyway, I learned a lesson from that. So this time we've had some nasty reactions. And again, one from a Catholic that says, I'm a devout Catholic, you're going to burn in hell, and God is going to strike you down immediately because what you're doing is blasphemous.
Wow.
So we've gone to the Catholic Church and they've gone, no, we don't have an issue with this. There's no issue whatsoever. If people want to record a live echo and if people want to give a speech at their funeral, why not?
Yeah.
So you're going to get different reactions. And as I said, we don't expect everybody to love this. It's a product you either or you don't like. And we don't see it as a mass market product. We're not targeting 100% people to do it. We think it'd be reasonably niche, but we see the benefit of it. And we're trying not to do any harm. And some of the money we're making, we're trying to do good with. So the ethics committee said, look, you're telling us this could make you a lot of money. I went, yep. So they said, okay, we want 5% of the licenses given free of charge to charities. And we want to target, for example, people with dementia, people going through the awful process of assisted death in the UK. I don't know if you can now apply to allow yourself to be killed.
Okay.
It's a 3-month process. So that's awful for the person doing it. But what about the people left?
Yeah.
So if we can use some of our licenses, give them away free and use them for constructive things, I see it as a positive.
Yeah.
So do no harm, understand everybody's not going to like you, move on.
Yeah. That's a good approach, I think. Yeah. It's awesome that you have that ethics committee because that ties into this. How does Life's Echo handle the concerns around the privacy and data security and consent when creating and storing the individual's AI echo?
Okay, so the first thing we do when you sign up, you can record an echo, but you can't actually turn it into a full echo that can talk to people until you've appointed an executor and a deputy executor. Because what happens when you're dead, in your lifetime, you've got the right at any time of taking this back, shutting it down, getting the data and taking it off. But what happens when you're dead? So therefore, we've got to have executors that actually make that decision because we don't want to get involved in family arguments about, I don't think it should be there and I don't think that should be there. So the rules are the executor can edit factual mistakes, but they can't change your life echo. They can take it down if they want because you've appointed that executor. And in terms of security, it's really rich, sensitive information that we hold very tightly. So very few people, we believe, will do what I've done and make my life echo public. We think 95% of the people, it will be private. And then you get to appoint exactly who gets to listen to it. You have to give us a list of email addresses and names of who can listen this to. That's given to the executor. So the executor knows and on your death can contact those people as we do and say, you can now listen to this echo, it's available, etc. So again, a lot of that was guided from the sessions with the ethics committee to say, you need to think about this and this. So we're not rushing into this. And this is the danger of AI. AI is a genie out of the bottle. And you can go bang and go ahead and then go, oh, I didn't think about that. Oh, I didn't think about that. And that's why we did the beta first. So we wanted to literally get out there because, again, we've had feedback and we've had learning from my people listening to my live echo. I've already talked about prompting for questions. That means get a first version out there, set the launch date for mid-February. By mid-February, you're going to have 95% of the things sorted, we hope. But there'll be something to talk about.
Yeah, that's great.
I'll give you one example. I'll give you one example that came up the other day. Somebody said, when did you die? I went, oh, shit. We didn't think about asking that question. And how can somebody tell us after they're dead?
Yeah, you don't know.
So now we need a new process. And we have to have a process for the executor to notify the person who's died so we can add it to their life echo so we can add the date they died. Didn't think about it.
Yeah. It's a good point. It sounds like you've thought about things good, and that's important for a lot of people, I'm sure. But do you see Life's Echo being used differently across cultures or even generations? And how do you think the younger generations will engage with this tool to understand their family history?
So this is the fascinating bit. Don't know yet.
Mm-hmm.
So our expectation is it will be gifted by younger people who get AI and get the concept to older people who probably just recalled it. We already think there's extensions of the products for people just to have a digital diary. It's a really easy way of documenting your life as you go along, creating a digital diary. We've been talking to some mums about potential creating a digital twin for when a child is born, because they don't know anything about the first 5 years of what happened to them. So creating that digital twin electronically. So there's lots of ways we can go with this. Yeah. And we've deliberately designed it so you don't have to know anything about AI.
Mm-hmm.
It's a voice interview. A lot of people, my dad, for example, when I showed it to him, could not believe Sarah was not a middle-aged woman. Talking, you wouldn't believe it. It's like, no, that's not an AI. Like, yeah, it is that.
That's awesome.
So it's going to get different reactions from different generations. The bottom line is, do you want to write an autobiography? Do you want to create an echo of your life? If you do, it's a really easy way of doing it.
And you mentioned this a little bit. People will either like it or hate it, but what kind of feedback have you been getting from your beta users so far? Are there any surprising or heartwarming stories that stood out to you during this testing phase?
It's very early. And remember, only my echo is available publicly. But
Okay.
again, one comment about that is Jordan Makin, one of my friends, been friend for 10, 11 years,
Mhm.
said he found out more about me in 15 minutes listening to this in the pub than he had in 10 to 12 years.
Yeah.
And I guess it's because men don't really talk about their childhood much, don't talk about their early memories, don't talk about
Yeah.
how they grew up outside of their family. Maybe they talk to their wife. So it's just interesting. And he found it very enriching to
Yeah.
go, actually, now I understand a little bit about why you're like you are now.
Yeah. That is a good idea because a lot of people, I don't even probably mention it a lot to a lot of people, like my growing up times. And yeah, that's true. You'd even enrich friendships. That's great.
The other one that came out was the brutal honesty of it. And
Mm,
again, I don't know if everybody will be as honest. There is, again, another function we add him, something that can be kept quiet until after you're gone.
mm,
So you may want to say, here's my life's echo, but at this point, I don't want anybody to know until I'm dead. I
yeah.
personally do that. But one of the things that came up is I got my girlfriend pregnant when I was 17 during my exams. Missed one of my exams, changed the whole directory of my education, changed the whole directory of my career. Yeah. Do you admit that? Or sorry, do you omit it? Or do you just say, this is what happened? And I decided, you know what? I'm going to tell people this is what happened. This is how it changed my life. Because maybe future generations will go, oh, maybe I should be more careful there. Or
Yeah.
maybe I didn't realize that it can have all these knock-on impacts. So again, it's a personal choice. And I don't expect most people to go public.
Hmm.
But it's also a personal choice about how honest and in depth you are about the true feelings and true emotions of your life with your future generations. I don't know. People will choose.
Yeah, it's a great question. I tend to be here is everything. So
I'm the same.
I don't have anything to hide.
We could listen to Steve here, but I'd rather not. Let's
Yeah.
just leave Steve alone. Yeah. Listeners, you can go on to Life's Echo and play with Steve in your comfort of your own homes. You don't need me to be about being embarrassed.
And Life's Echo is set to be launched on in February of this year, 2025. What are your
Yep.
plans for expanding the reach and features? Are there any potential partnerships or new applications you envision for this technology?
So let's talk about reach first of all. So this is an interesting question about AI. So one of the things we discussed before, AI is a race to market.
Hmm.
If you don't get there first and get as many customers as you can, somebody will copy you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've decided to do a primarily B2B strategy and work with businesses that already have customers who are already thinking about that death stage.
Hmm.
But the other fascinating thing is AI has removed the boundaries of geography. So we are running a team and we're aiming to keep it to 5 to 10 people.
Hmm.
So any customer services, AI characters. Any sales outreach, AI characters. Because then we can go international to different time zones and different languages. Because remember, the AI talks 42 different languages, yeah,
Nice.
with no boundaries.
Hmm.
So I could easily see this being bigger in the USA than it is in the UK,
Mm.
because culturally we're a bit fuddy-duddy. Yeah, whereas the US is like, hey, let's have a go with this.
Yeah.
Could be Australia, it could be New Zealand, it could, I don't know.
Hmm.
But basically, what I find about AI is it's breaking those boundaries that say you can only be in your one source market. No, you can't. You're available on the web. Yeah, you can talk 42 different languages. And by the way, yeah, you're available 24/7. Uh, let's see where it goes.
Yeah, I love
And in
this
terms of
idea.
product extensions, I just want to focus on this one first.
Yes.
So there's so many other spin out ideas, and we've already discussed a couple of them.
Hmm.
Yeah, for example, digital twins,
Hmm.
famous people. Maybe they want to talk to fans, but they don't want to be available 24/7. Could they record a lot about their life and what their daily life is, and so fans can just talk to it? There's lots of ways this technology can be shaped and utilized. And I call AI is like making a car. Yeah.
Hmm.
At the heart of the car, you've got the large language model, the engine.
Hmm.
But you've got to decide of what color car it is, what shape of car, how many wheels, what sat nav is. And that's how you create user cases that make it a lot more specialist, because it is a lot more specialist than just going to a large language model. You've
Yeah,
got the privacy concerns, you've got the ethics committee, you've got the fact it only goes to your personal database. It's still using the fundamentals of AIs, but it's creating a new car for a new use case and a new business here.
I love that. Is there any final thoughts that you'd like to leave with our audience about Life's Echo that we haven't covered?
Don't die and leave no record.
Yeah,
That's just sad. Don't be sad. You'll be gone in 3 generations. Do something about it. You don't have to be egotistical like me. You can keep it private, but write your autobiography today before it's too late.
I love that. Great advice. Thank you so much, Steve, for joining us today and sharing your insights. It's really been a real pleasure talking with you and learning more about your work at Life's Echo. It's a fascinating concept, and I can't wait to try it.
Go and try it. Thank you very much.
Yeah. To learn more about Life's Echo, visit their website, lifesecho.co.uk. Keeping you connected to tomorrow. Today, this is Alicia with AInews.com.